Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Plasma and I like simplicity. Bigger elevators are a little bit more complicated. Today we're going to do our very first three-phase elevator. The ones we've been doing are two-phase elevators. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated, but I think I made it simple for you. All you need for 4 and 5 are that many pistons. But to do a 6x6, you need 8 of them. I spent some time working on it to make it a little bit simpler, and I hope you like the symmetry. Let's get started. But first, 30-second elevator review. 2 observers, 2 sticky pistons, 4 slime. Observer causes push, observer causes pull, observer causes push, observer causes pull. Motion causes them to fire too. Now we're going to build one. Done. So this is what a 6x6 looks like. Let's take a closer look. A 6x6 may look complicated, but it's broken up into 3 tiers. You have the bottom tier, which is the elevator. You have a second tier, which is a crown on top of that. And then you have the third tier, which is a pair of wings. It'll look like this when you take it apart. Piece by piece. Basic piston elevator, a middle phase, and that allows us to put these 8 pistons on top. And finally, some slime. Now there's a trick to these slime that I've made simple for you. You're going to do this 4 different times, and you're going to flip them on the back so that they alternate. We have 7 of these in a little claw shape, and that'll push 5 blocks, which is 12 total. And then you have these 8. It's a little flag with 1 extra block, and these 8 will push 4, which is also 12. That way they'll be very easy to stop. And if you put the flags on the inside like this, you're going to see that it will be able to push all 4 of these on either side so that you can touch all 4 adjacent and be able to grab all 8 of them and stop it at the top. Now let's look at the top and bottom and launching it. So because we've got 3 tiers, this is going to have another layer to it. It looks more complicated, but it's not that bad. So all you need to do is to be able to touch all of these 4 observers to set off the first layer. And then, after 3 ticks, you're going to touch the bottom ones, which would normally be all we did. If you remember, we did 2 or 3 on the smaller elevators. And then after those 3 ticks, and then 7 ticks later is when you launch it. From my experimentation, that's the fastest you can launch it. Now to stop it at the top, we're going to do a simpler version because we don't have to worry about the original one. If you might remember, on ones that use the base elevator, we have to actually have a delay so that we hold on to it a little bit longer. We don't have to do that on this. So we just need to grab all 4 on this side and all 4 on this side, and that will do it. And so it will let go and then launch. And if it helps you, this is going to be 5 blocks down from underneath the extended piston here. All right, let's get to building one. So this is what you're going to need. Obsidian is optional as always, but it helps to have. We're going to start off with an elevator. Just a basic one like that. Put in our sticky pistons. And we will put what I call a crown on it, which is just this section. And then we will put the 2 little wings on for the third stage, which will look something like this. We will put a observer right here, like that, like that, like that, like that. And then we are going to put 8 pistons down. And that should be it. Now, of course, you've got more blocks than you can launch, right? So what do? So in order to prime it and test it, and you can't do this once you put the top layer on, the decor layer, because it will mess up the slime blocks. But before that, you can actually test it by priming layer 3 like this. Put on a block that will break off if it moves, like a lever or a torch. I like a button. And you don't actually have to do that before we have the slime, but I'm just showing you how to do it. And then you prime layer 2, and that will actually kick off layer 3 again to move this one block further. I'll show you that with slime blocks in a second. And then you should be able to kick it off like so. And it works. Now, let's pull this back down. When it's finished, you should want it to come across like that. I think I'm actually going to put it right here. You want it to be down the middle of the 6x6. And that'll keep it from going anywhere. So let's move it back down, and what we're going to do is we're going to start putting our slime blocks on. So slime block will go like this. And you want to put your claws on the outside. And the reason for that is because it will cause these inner 4 blocks to be like this. Because they're like that, you'll be able to grab them all easily with the pistons. So let's put on our, I call it a flag. And that's all you have to do. You do 4 of those and we're done. So let's do another one of these. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all you have to do. So now let's test it. And now you'll see why the stage 3 is important. So we're going to prime the layer 3 up here, like so. And then we're going to need to do it again after this layer, but we won't need to do it again because when you move it, it will do it by itself. That's the beauty of this, is you can have as many tiers on your piston elevator as you need to, because they will prep each one, and you only have to fire the redstone once for each layer. Now it will move. The challenge is that you're going to have a problem if you need to test it with the top on. And the reason you're going to have a problem is because if you have blocks here and one layer pushes up, it's going to stick and break. So when I prime this layer, it's going to grab onto these, and then you're going to have problems. They have to all go in sync in order for it to work. So now let's do the bottom launcher. It might seem daunting from what I showed you, but it's actually pretty simple. What we need to do is we need to place some pistons so that they touch these, and then we need to do the second layer, and then the third layer is the launch. And so we're going to put a piston like this. We're going to put an observer like this, but I'm actually not going to put it there yet. I'm actually going to put it like this. This way, we don't have to worry about having problems. So we're going to put a piston here, an observer here, and some redstone dust right here. You can actually run your redstone dust really close. For reasons I'm about to show you, we don't care about that observer. That's the down observer that we need up there. We don't need it right now, so it doesn't matter to us. We also need to signal this one. We should not leave anything dangling. That might cause issues down the road. I'll go ahead and put these down. It's just easier. All right, and now we wire it up. But there's a gotcha here, which is that we are going to actually get rid of these 2 pieces. We're going to connect this one right here and this one right here to a piston, like I'm about to show you. this way. And this way. No, this way. There we go. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower this redstone by 1. The reason we're going to do that is it's easiest to put a piston on these 2 down here from the sides. Now, of course, you can do your own design, but I assume if you're following along, that's what I'm going to do. And now we are going to feed some redstone down into this. And these need to be set to 3 ticks, like so. I'll go ahead and put this one on for you. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. You ready? So we have this one facing sideways. We're going to put this observer right here, and we're going to have a 3-tick repeater like this. And the redstone will be able to feed into those repeaters. All right, your first layer is done. Don't believe me? Let's test it. Isn't that neat? My first and second layers are done. So now it's ready to launch. And in order to launch, you need to have, ooh boy. For safety's sake, we're going to destroy this. That way we don't have problems. So now, oh, we didn't need to because it just would have failed. Okay, so now we have 7 ticks. And now it should launch upward if we power this with redstone. That's enough to go. So in order to stop it, you want to make sure you've got these 8 covered. Bare minimum. It looks like I do. So it should stop when we get to the top. You just have to make sure each one of the 8 pieces is touched. And that's the easiest way to do it. You think it's going to work? Let's find out. And there you have it, folks. All right, so let's put that last top piece on and we'll be done with our demonstration. It's pretty easy to do this. You just need to have sticky pistons. Pull each of these 8, just like we did on the other elevators. And you might recall that what we do now is we get a redstone torch for each one, and we put on some repeaters to feed into it, each one of them. Let's do the same thing on the other side. And there you go. So now, what we need to do is we need to have a piston tell us it's time to go once we pull those out of the way, like that. So let's put a observer facing this way, and I assume we're going to want to have about 3 ticks on that one. And let's run this as close as we can. Now on this one, because our elevator is starting to get a little bit bigger, you're going to be running out of redstone signal, so you actually need to be careful right here in the middle. I ran into a bug when I was designing it because if you were to count with me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which means if we don't actually do one of these 2 blocks, if we don't power this one or this one, we're not going to be able to power both sides. And there's 2 ways you can address that. One is to put a repeater right here in the middle, or if you're new to redstone and worried about making a mistake, you can just be safe and you can go ahead and use 2 of them. Is it pricier? Can be, but you know it's going to be able to reach without having to check, especially if you're doing some of this underground or somewhere hidden. And so now we're just going to connect this up. And if we did it correctly, we should be able to push this button and it should go, and we should be done. and we'll go ahead and clean up the top. You ready? It works. So now let's ensure that we actually did it and that we counted everything correctly by putting in our cover. This should not matter in the slightest. It's just decorative. If we did things correctly. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's find out if we actually did do this correctly. Now, obviously, we need to be over the limit on 12, and we won't be, so we do actually have to put the top on this. If you don't do that, then our count's going to be off, and it is going to keep going. It would be awkward as it sails off into the sunset. What's it? I've got it locked at noon, so into the literal sun. So that's it. Now, does it work? If we calculate everything correctly, it should. And it stops, just like we expected. Now the final test. And it works too. So now you've got a working 6x6 elevator if you follow along with everything. I can do a flyby again for the pieces if you'd like, but that's all we have for today. We just built a 6x6 elevator, and if you followed along, you should be proud of yourself, because this is no small trick. I've made it easy by doing it piece by piece, but this is not something you see every day. I'm actually really pleased with this one. And better yet, if you can understand how we work having a third tier here, you'll understand the general idea for doing a tier 4 or tier 5, and maybe you can make an even bigger one than anyone's ever made before. All right, hope you like this video. Like and subscribe and all that stuff if you want to help grow the channel and help see more content. Right now I'm alternating days. Every other day I'm doing another elevator, and I've got some more projects in the works, different kinds of elevators, rounded elevators, elevators you haven't seen before. And I'm going to do some other things that are a little bit lighter on redstone on the other days. Some classic redstone projects that I've done over the years. So, have a good day. Bye.